Hello, my name is David Erickson, and I'm going to present to you a one-dimensional virus infection model. It's a way not accurately describing everything involved in how one becomes infected, but it gives you an approximate model that you can use that explains the process from a very simple standpoint. By encompass, I mean I'm going to give you enough information so you can wrap your head around the problem. So you've got a whole macroscopic picture, but really it doesn't delve into the details. This one-dimensional model isn't reality, but it is an approximate model that allows you to at least understand what's going on. Okay, let's start with word pictures that describe the stages that one has to be in order for an infection to run its course all the way to fatality. In order for you to have died from coronavirus or any virus, before that, it had to be multiplying inside your body. And before that, it had to get inside a single cell. And before that, it had to get into your body. And before that, it had to be in your environment. Now imagine these as separate stages. Consider them all black boxes, okay? We don't necessarily know all the inputs and outputs, and we certainly don't know all the functions in them. But if there's a black box for the environment, if there's a black box for how you come in contact with a virus, if there's a black box representing how it gets inside a cell and takes over, if there's a black box describing how it replicates and it does mass factory colonization of your body, all of these stages are black boxes before the ultimate one everyone's worried about. If this model is approximately true, then we can describe states that you have to go through. So first, there has to be a virus in your environment. Then your body has to come in contact with it. And then it has to become infected. And then it has to replicate. And the replication goes on in a spiral that you can't stop. Now, when a healthcare official says the probability is low, well, what does that mean? Essentially, if you were to use this approximate one-dimensional virus model, it means the probability of all of these things, each and every one of them decoupled and separate, the probabilities are low. When the virus wasn't in your environment, all of these are false because it was never there to begin with. But then this is how the process would go. Once it is in your environment, it is possible for you to come in contact with it. It comes into your personal space. Once you've been intersected with the virus, there's a possibility that a cell will become infected. Once that happens, there's a possibility that it will start replicating inside one of your cells. And only then, after those three processes have taken place, would you ever get to the stage where you're overwhelmed. Now, when you think about it, this is the part of the problem here that people are fixated on in the media and the medical doctors, but really, this is a tiny portion of the entire problem. Most of the problem is out here. The reality is, it has to be in your environment, and you have to come in contact with it before any of this stuff happens. So when a healthcare system says, well, we're doing all we can, they're only thinking from their narrow vision of inside a doctor or a nurse's perspective. The reality is, we all have a part to play out here, outside of the healthcare system. Think of it like this. Even if you aren't susceptible to succumbing to this virus or any virus, as a carrier, you're playing Russian roulette. A carrier is somebody that is near stage 4, if you think of this model. They were in the environment with a virus, and they came in contact with it, and it started infecting their cells, and they started making copies. So by this model, they're very close to the end of all the things that can happen. So it's very serious that somebody is a carrier. because carriers will kill others. Even if they are not susceptible by their age or their genetic makeup, they will come in contact with places that people with the wrong DNA susceptibility may succumb to the illness. So nations should consider in the future something like this. I call it the Citadel Protocol. Imagine if every nation was its own citadel with a castle and a keep and a moat and walls to keep everyone safe. If people come infected, come in contact, and they become sick, or they might be sick, or they might be lying if they're sick, let's assume China because that's the topic of discussion, but it doesn't really matter. It could be Mexico City or South Africa. If you deny people from a possibly pandemic infected area, like say China in this case, but it doesn't have to be China, direct travel to your nation, what it does is it buys other nations time to prepare for the oncoming reality that a virus is entering their environment. It also prevents cheaters. So if somebody is lying, if they've taken a supplement so their body temperature isn't above normal, and they're willing to lie to allow somebody to get on a plane, say in China, and fly directly to the United States, means that there's very little chance for people to stop them along the way. It's not really racist. What it is a competition between government and cheaters. And it doesn't matter where they are. Say you were an American salesman and you were in China trying to sell a product or strike a business deal. If you become infected, if you are not allowed to fly directly back to the United States, but have to go through India and then South Africa and then Egypt and then maybe Brazil and then Mexico and then the United States. If your passport says you came from a pandemic zone, you're only allowed to fly one country over. What does that do? It gives the government time to find people that are cheating and lying as the virus remains dormant or it's still in the early stages of infecting cells. That gives more governments a chance to stop you before you ultimately infect a whole bunch of people who are totally unaware of it. Okay, so I hope this model has given you a way to understand the problem in general with an approximate solution. What can you do to help? Well, it's simple. We can all help at the contact stage, right? Inside the healthcare system, it's too late. We can all help people at the preventing contact with the virus. So wash doorknobs, wash handles, wash lids, wash things that people will touch, not just you. Consider delivering food to older people so they don't have to come in contact with things that may be infected. Wipe contact surfaces for others. Everyone can do their part by doing a little. Avoid contact. If you can, don't be at work. Don't give your workers or your co-workers the opportunity to be carriers themselves. And in these times that are very trying, be positive. We will all get through this. I've come up with a COVID meme. Imagine a shiny brass knob. Whenever you look at a shiny brass knob, you will think clean contacts kills COVID. If we all focus on contact, where somebody can come in contact with a virus, because remember, the majority of the problem is outside the healthcare system where we all have a part to play. Clean contacts kills COVID. Thank you very much.